To attach your warping pegs to a table or to a piece of wood, you need to loosen the bolt right here. So this piece of wood comes down far enough. Put it underneath the table or the piece of wood and then tighten that bolt. For our first backstrap weaving, you're going to want to place your two warping pegs 36 inches apart. To start backstrap weaving, we're going to warp yarn 1 yard long. For the purpose of this video, I have my warping pegs closer than 1 yard, but I'll spread them apart to 1 yard so I can warp a yard of yarn. So first you want to clamp your pegs to a piece of wood or the edge of a table and measure them so they're 36 inches apart. And then you'll start just like with the frame loom and make a slip knot. That knot goes onto one warping peg. And then you'll take your yarn and cross over to one side of the peg. So I have it coming from the top of the left peg and it's going to the bottom of the right peg. It comes around from the top of the right peg and goes to the bottom of the left peg. So I'm making an X. And I'm going to continue this pattern the entire time. I'm keeping track of how many times I warp the yarn. You can see here this piece of yarn is not following the cross, so I just have to correct it. And for this initial backstrap weaving, we're just doing a sample, so you only need 30 pieces of yarn. So the best way to find out how much yarn you have if you haven't been keeping track is to count in the center of your warping. So I have more than 30 strands of yarn, and I'll just undo them. So once you're done, you take your end and tie it to the string of the start. The reason we make a cross is because the yarn is now stacked up, every other one going a different direction, so it keeps the yarn in order. And to preserve the cross as we get going, I'm taking a different color of yarn just so I can see the difference of the yarn from the warp yarn. And then I'm tying that cross off right there. So I put the yarn on either side of the cross, and I'm just tying a bow right now. I'm also going to tie this bundle, this bundle, this bundle, and this bundle. And I'm tying them all with a bow so it's easy to untie them. It's important to remember that when you clamp your warping pegs on, they're 36 inches apart or 1 yard apart. Now you'll take 2 of these larger dowels, slide one through one side of your warp and one through the other side of your warp. And as I hold on to those, I'm just sliding the warp off. So I'm setting those aside. I have this tied so I don't lose track of the order of the yarn. To get started, you need to have something to hang your backstrap on. It could go around a chair or something else, but I have this peg right now attached to a loom. And then I've created this V-shaped rope. One end I've tied a knot in, and it goes on the groove of the end of this dowel rod, and same as the other end. And right at the center I tied another knot to put on that peg. So the warp is going through that first peg, and then there's the cross right here, and then the other part of the warp goes through the other peg. Where my last string of warp was kind of hanging because it wasn't part of the cross, so I just put it on the end of this dowel. So I have it sitting on a chair right now just for the purpose of holding it up to show you what it's supposed to look like. And this is a great thing to do too while if you just need a place to put it for a while. To put the back strap on, I'll attach one loop on the end of one of the dowel rods. This back strap will go around the back of myself, and then I'll put the other loop on. So the tension, instead of holding it with a chair, it will be held with myself. So I'll be inside of this back strap, and I lean back to add tension to the warp.